Good evening, everybody. It is May 20th, and I just got back from an 11-day trip to Australia. While I was away, it was incredibly sunny, in the mid-80s every single day. We've had very little rain, so luckily my neighbor watered my garden a few times for me, and everything has just completely exploded in the nearly 2 weeks that I was away. And I want to give you a little update on everything. Here I was just filming a video on how to prune tomato plants, and you can see the result of that. There's just tomato bodies everywhere. I'll have more on that later. But these were the first tomato plants that I planted back before my last frost date in the middle of March. You can see they are absolutely laden with fruit. I haven't gotten a chance to prune these guys yet. There's just fruit everywhere. They are getting pretty sizable. In fact, I actually had a bit of a casualty here. This is a Brandywine Sodus, the pink Brandywine. It completely split under the weight of this relatively massive fruit. So I will be able to tie that up, and I'll actually be able to wrap this up with electrical tape. And I've done that before, and it actually does a pretty darn good job at keeping the plant alive. I think it'll be able to support both stems. So these were these two right here and right here are the pink Brandywine Sodus. They say that they're really finicky and that they don't set good looking fruit. Well, they're pretty good looking fruit to me. They're almost perfect. And there's 5 monsters right there, and I had 2 monsters right there before the plant went and split on me, so I really have to rescue that. These are the Brandywine Red. These are not as laden with fruit. I only have 2 here. You can kind of see they're kind of ugly and misshapen. And 2 here. That's all I have. I thought these were supposed to be a more vigorous variety, but so far, not too impressed with them. The Brandywine Sodus is looking a lot better. These right here are the true black Brandywine. I have a couple of medium-sized fruits right there, and a nice cluster under there, which you can kind of see. There's a few more over here. There's a really nice cluster going on over there. Let me see if I can get it from the other side. Yeah, there's some really nice fruits here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they're leafing out in all directions. So I need to cut a lot of these suckers off. I'll probably just save this one fruit right there. Over here I have the Brandywine Yellow. You can see what the fruit looks like here. I have, looks like 3 really good sized fruits there. I have another fruit cluster that's forming up here, and looks like I have some nice ones here as well. There's a little fruit cluster forming there. These all have to be pruned terribly. They're a mess. These are my Brandy Boys. These have always been my favorite tomato. They really load up the plants full of fruit. You can see I have a lot going on here down at the bottom. They're just everywhere, and I fully expect this fruit cluster to set more fruit. I have a bunch over here as well. I've always had really good luck with these tomatoes. You can see they set fruit pretty reliably, and they actually do okay in the heat. So those are all Brandywine varieties. Over here I have the Brandywine OTV. These were the first to actually set fruit for me, even though I planted this entire bed, I believe 2 weeks before the other bed. These fruits are massive. They're already starting to split on me, actually. So I'm pretty excited about these. This is supposed to be a really good tasting tomato. There are a few more over here, and you'll notice I already pruned this whole bed, so that's why this bed looks really nice and orderly. I'll have to get to the other one later. This is still the Brandywine OTV, lots and lots and lots of fruit. These are my steak sandwich, which is a burpee hybrid. They make a really nice, perfectly round slicing tomato. They're fantastic. They're delicious. You can see the fruit clusters really set on the fruit. You can see how crazy this one's set on right behind it. There's just fruits everywhere. This is a really reliable burpee hybrid right here. Really like it. Then over here, what is this? This is the Stump of the World. I've always wanted to try this. It's a funny name, but they're supposed to produce pretty disease-resistant, reliable beefsteaks. As you can see, both plants are doing a pretty good job setting on fruit all up the plant. So that's great. Then we have my early star, which is the Cherokee Purple. These always do great in the cool. You'll see they're setting on perfectly round fruit clusters of 6 to 10 ounce tomatoes like they always do. This is a really impressive cluster for a Cherokee Purple right here, and they just go up, 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 all the way up the plant. Same thing with the plant behind it. That's a Cherokee Purple, just laden with anywhere from small to medium to large size fruits. So usually the Cherokee Purples quit pretty early in the season, so it's important to get these tomatoes in early because they do best setting fruit in the cool weather. This is a Chapman tomato, and this thing is incredible. I'm having to prune the life out of this. It's just suckering in all directions. The fruit is perfect. I actually may have gotten these mixed up. Either this is the Chapman and this one behind it is the Beauty, or vice versa. So I'm not sure until I get the final fruit, and I'll have to compare. But both of these were freebies from, I think, tomato growers, and they're fantastic. They're absolutely perfect looking. They're super vigorous. It's a great looking plant. I came back from vacation and this was just suckering like crazy. So it's an amazing variety. This is a Celebrity, which is an all-American selection determinate. And I used to work on a farm growing up, and the guy grew nothing but these. And the fruit production on these is just crazy. It's off the charts. And this is a determinate, so that's why I did not prune this. The way that determinants work is they set on all their fruit pretty much at once, and then they ripen, and then the plants die back. So you don't really want to prune your determinants much unless they get so heavy they start tearing down your stake. That's also why that stake is much shorter than the others. I expect to have to rip this out in about 45 days or so. These are all of my dwarf tomatoes. I'll give you a pepper update. Look at these sweet bananas. If you want an early pepper, sweet banana. Pretty amazing. Jalapenos back here. Just got tons and tons and tons of them. Pretty much ready to pick. I have cherry peppers back here. Peppers are really easy to grow. If you don't like growing things that are difficult, grow peppers. Really easy. But here I have Rosella Purple, which is an early dwarf tomato, much like a Cherokee Purple. Just fantastic. Right behind it, you can hardly see it, but I have this Adelaide Festival tomato, which is another dwarf, and they set on just perfect mahogany variegated fruits. I have these jammed in so tightly they're hard to see. This is a Brandy Fred, which is supposed to be a cross between a dwarf Wild Fred and a Brandywine tomato. So I'm excited about this variety. I planted these a little later, so they're a little behind, but you can see how well all of these dwarfs set on fruit. This right here is a dwarf Emerald Giant. I don't know what the heck happened to this, but it looks damaged, and I don't think it's a disease given the patterns on the leaves. There really aren't any patterns, so I don't know if this just got damaged by the sun or some kind of bug tore it up while I was away, but this is going to have to come out. I'm not going to risk it being something that could spread. And I have another dwarf Emerald Green Giant right behind it that is setting on fruit, so I'll get a few tomatoes off of this, so I can't complain. That guy's getting ripped out. This is a New Mex Big Jim. This is a sweet pepper with they're pretty large, so they're good for frying. And then over here I have a ground cherry, which just does not want to grow in the cage that I gave it. Maybe you shouldn't cage these. I've never grown this before successfully. Mine last year drowned, so we'll see what happens with that. This is either the Chapman or the Beauty. I have it marked as a Beauty, but I'm not sure. I may have gotten them mixed up. But look at the fruit clusters on these. Again, these tomato seeds were free from tomato growers, and they're just perfect. They're incredible. I like them better than most of my Brandywines so far. So I'm going to have to save these seeds because whatever they are a real winner. Over here you can see a cucumber. That'll probably be ready to pick tomorrow. So that is awesome. So all of my warm season crops are doing very, very well. The last things I have to show you are my tomatoes, eggplants, and pickles. It looks like my potatoes in here are finally starting to die back. So that means that these should be well on their way to producing tomatoes. My eggplant, these are the Ichiban Japanese eggplant, Ichiban or Ikebana, and I love these. And this is coming from a guy that doesn't really like eggplant. These are phenomenal. So I recommend these because they're very thin, easy to slice up, and they don't have a lot of seeds. Then I have lots and lots and lots of pickles that are forming back here. That's incredible. Pickles at this time of year, middle of May. Just great. My cold weather crops are pretty much smoked. All my lettuce bolted and went to seed while I was away, so they're all going to come out. My carrots and beets may be a loss. I may have planted them way too late. In the middle of February is obviously too late to plant carrots and beets in my climate here. Next year they're going to have to go in around Christmas time. And then my herb garden is looking fantastic. I'm Italian, so I have more basil than I know what to do with because I go through it like water. My dill is starting to bolt. Rip that top off. My cilantro has bolted on me while I was away. But I have lots of different types of basil. This is the standard Genovese basil. This is Thai basil. This is something called Greek mini basil, which is starting to flower on me. And then I have parsley back here. I planted a bunch of sunflowers that I grew from seed before I left, and I'm glad to say it looks like almost all of them are establishing. So hopefully that will attract bees to my garden. These are all my extra figs, some thyme, coffee plants. They're all doing very well. I have a blood banana right here, which I'm going to use as an ornamental in my front yard. These are gray zucchini. This plant is flowering, and it looks like I have a zucchini that's starting here. This is another gray zucchini, and you can see I have two zucchini that are growing right there. This is a Nancy watermelon, which is just starting to grow. These are sugar babies, which are vining out all over the place, and they are starting to set fruit. So once I make sure that these are pollinated and make sure that they actually set, what I'm going to do is I'll probably prune the branch, or I'll prune the vines back. I'll only want to leave probably about 2 fruits per vine. Otherwise, the little root systems bound up in here won't be big enough to support the growth of the fruit. This is a Parks Whopper. I'm going to use this as an experiment to try to grow a 10-foot tall tomato with a double custom-made stake. That'll be a video for another time, but it desperately needs to be pruned because it's starting to fall over. You can see how big and heavy it is. Now I'm going to move on to the figs. The figs have exploded in growth since I went away on vacation. This is my Violette de Bordeaux. Again, I decapitated this in the winter time when it was dormant, so I didn't expect a lot of fruit off of this because I'm trying to shape the plant right now. It's starting to get a nice shape. It's put out a nice double stem here. I have no fruit on this yet, but all of this growth, this right here, this is all new growth. So it's putting a lot of energy right now into green growth production, and I'm probably going to start pinching my non-fruiting figs within the next couple of weeks. I'm just trying to get as much green growth on them as possible to shape my trees the first year. This is my Black Madeira. It's finally starting to do something. This is just a really late fig. It needs a lot of heat to grow, and it really takes its time, but it looks pretty healthy. The new leaves are not showing the fig mosaic. The new leaves are not showing the fig mosaic virus, that checker pattern, so it looks like it's growing out of it with all of the fertilizer that I've given it. This is my Martinenca ramata, which was just a little twig a few weeks ago with just a green shoot on top. And actually, this is the superior Martinenca ramata. This is the one I should have up-potted. It clearly needs to be fertilized because it's starting to show that telltale virus checker pattern. This is the Marseille Black MBVS. This was just a cutting that I put in the ground a couple of weeks ago. That I put in this bucket a couple of weeks ago. I used that as a transplant video. It's already putting on significant growth. This is a Col de Dame Noir. It's looking really nice. You can see how nice and green the leaves are. The new growth is starting to show that telltale fig mosaic virus pattern, looking a little spotty. So this is telling me these figs really need to be fertilized. They need some kind of soluble fertilizer because I haven't done it in 2 weeks since I've been away. This is my Smith. Smith is looking great, considering it's not the most vigorous cultivar, somewhere in the middle. I don't see any figs forming yet, but I'm going to let this branch go a little bit more. I'm probably going to let it go to 10 nodes, so it'll be 2 cuttings when I eventually prune this back. And then when that happens, I will pinch off the top. So I'll be sure to make a fig pinching video later. This is a Col de Dame de Ciutat. It's showing nice growth. You can see there's a little bit of sun damage. That's to be expected because I acclimated it pretty quickly in anticipation of my vacation. But it's putting on all new growth out here, so it's clearly healthy and it's clearly growing vigorously. So I know it will recover from any sun damage. This is my Olympian that I bought for $10.98 at Lowe's, and as you can see, it's already loading up with figs. So I expect some nice early August figs on this tree, which is making me really happy. I hear good things about this variety. This is my Latarula Italian Honey, I believe. No, this is my Chicago Hardy. I bought this for $9.98. From Home Depot, and it's really getting vigorous, but it's not showing any fruit just yet. I'm starting to see a lot of bumps at all of the nodes. When they start showing 2 bumps, I will start pinching the tops. But again, that'll be a video for later. We're a little early. Oh no, look, I'm getting a figlet right there. There you go. You can see the figlet right there. So I am starting to get some Chicago Hardy figs. This is another Col de Dame Noir. This one is just a beast. Super vigorous. Break that branch off. Super vigorous. There's another dead one. Doing really well. Waiting for bumps along the nodes. I'm starting to get single bumps. No double bumps yet. But again, when I get the doubles, we'll start pinching. Looking really good so far. This Italian 258 is a freak because it is one of the last cuttings that I started. I started this in February, where most of the others were started in November, and it's just setting on fruit like mad. At every node, there is either figs or figs forming, and that makes me really, really happy because this thing so far is a superstar. So I will try and clone this as best I can over the winter because I think I got a really, really good mother tree. This is my Raspberry Latte. This is probably my most vigorous tree. My neighbor had to water this multiple times because it's demanding so much water from its pot. Raspberry Lattes are notoriously slow to fruit, and I only see single bumps at the nodes. I don't see any double bumps for fruit. So I don't know if I'll get fruit off of this this year. Given its reputation, I don't really expect it. This is my Latarula Italian Honey, and this is just turning into a massive, massive bush. It's looking really nice. I thought this was supposed to be an earlier variety, but I'm not seeing a lot of activity, considering this is my original bush, along with the Violette de Bordeaux. My 2 original bushes aren't showing any fruit, which is funny. But it looks very healthy. It may be a tissue culture. Both of them may be, so maybe that's why they're slow to fruit. Not a big deal because I have plenty of other fruits going on. This is the Bourgeois Blanca Negra. This is growing really well. All of this right here is new growth since I've been away. You can see it's not lignified at all. So I know it's very happy and healthy and enjoying its home. This is the San Miguel Roxo, which is also known as Azores Dark. This is getting its first bumps. This is grafted to Chicago Hardy rootstock. So looking good so far. This is all new growth since I've been away. And then over here, I just have more potted peppers. This is my 3-year-old pepper plant that I brought with me from Pennsylvania. Still putting out edible fruit. This is the garden salsa variety, one of my favorites. And then this is a strawberry that I rescued from my old yard that was just a little root. I ate a few strawberries off of it, but I eventually intend to turn that into a little strawberry patch. And my last fig tree is my Celeste out in the front yard. You can see it's setting on fruits very aggressively. It's already loading up on all of the branches, so I know that I will get a good harvest off of this tree this year. The Lila avocado is doing great. It's getting very, very green, and I have a few fruits that you can see. This is proof positive that avocados are in fact self-fertile if you're willing to hand pollinate at different times of the day in the cool season. There's a few fruits on here. I can't really find them all now because the sun is starting to set. The tree doesn't seem to want to hold on to the fruits because it's still very young, but that's okay. I expect better results from it next year. If I don't get a fruit off of it, that's no problem. This is a jalapeno that I planted last year that survived the winter, just throwing a flower pot on top of it when it would freeze. So even though we got down to 19 degrees, it's still alive. That's how warm of a microclimate the house makes. And then my Owari Satsuma is just loaded up with fruit. Looks great. Super green. You can see it next to my hand. It's so green. It's the greenest plant that I have. And that's due to fish emulsion. It really does wonders for the plant. Alright everyone, it's getting pretty dark, so that's as much of an update as I can give you. The video frequency will increase because now I'm back home from my vacation. Thank you all for watching. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel for future updates. Please follow along with me in my garden as I progress through the year. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all again next time.